Hey friends, it's Corey from Hey Let's Make Stuff. I am so happy to be here for National HTV Day with Caesar and Heat Transfer Warehouse. In today's video, we're going to be making a reverse canvas for Christmas. This is going to be an easy project that you can make with your cutting machine and Caesar HTV, so let's get started. Let's start off talking about what you're going to need to make this project. Of course, you're going to need a cutting machine. I'm using my Cricut Explore 3, but of course you can use any cutting machine you have. You're also going to need a heat press. I have my large Cricut Easy Press here, but again, you can use whatever you have. And then if we switch to the overhead, I have 3 colors of HTV here. So this is Caesar Easy Weed HTV. I have it in aqua, red, and bubblegum. These are obviously not traditional Christmas colors, but I'm not a traditional girl. So if you want to swap out this teal color with maybe a more traditional green, that would totally work. I also have a green Cricut cutting mat, as well as the pad that I'm going to be using with my large Easy Press over here. I then have a 12x9 wrapped canvas. You can use any size canvas you'd like, but this is the size I had, so that's what I'm going with. And then I have an array of tools that you'll probably want to have on hand. So of course, first I have my weeding hook to weed the HTV. I have a pair of scissors. And then we're going to be removing the staples from the back of this canvas, and I found that I needed sort of 3 tools to do that. I have a flathead screwdriver, an old school staple remover, as well as a pair of pliers. And then finally, I also have a glue gun for when we assemble the whole thing back together. One other thing you might want to have on hand is some paint or stain. I'm going to leave the frame to my canvas unfinished, but if you want to paint it a certain color or stain it, you can totally do that as well. And then for this project, I have a free SVG file for you. You can get that by going to my craft library at heyletsmakestuff.com/library. There you can request the password, come back to that same page, and log in. This is file C484, so that's Cricut 484, and it is an SVG file that says feeling jolly. There are 2 ways to find this in my craft library. The first is to click on the SVG button and you'll be taken down to the SVG section where you can find C484. You can also use the search function on your computer. So if you're on a Mac, you can use Command F. If you're on a PC, you can use Control F, and you can search for C484. Once you find the file, there will be 3 links. The first link is the download. So you'll click that and it will download a zip with the file to your hard drive. The second link is the blog post for this video. And the third link is this video if you need to come back to refer to it. All right, I think that's about it for introduction, so let's get making. First, let's hop into Cricut Design Space, set up our project so we can cut our HTV. Here in Cricut Design Space, I've uploaded my file. I resized it to fit my canvas, so I made it 10 inches wide, which gives me about 1 inch of space on either side of the file. I designed this file in 3 layers, so you don't have to worry about placing all of these tiny pieces. Once your file is resized, you can click Make. Choose On Mat, and then you'll see all of your 3 mats laid out. You'll need to mirror each layer. So we'll click on each of them and click Mirror, and click back on the first one and click Continue. From here, Cricut Design Space will connect to your Cricut. Here we can set our base material. I'm choosing Everyday Iron-On. And then I'm also going to click this button that says Remember Material Settings, so I don't have to come back and reset this every time. Next, it will tell us what we need, so we're going to be using that fine point blade, and we can go ahead and set up our project to cut. Now we can add our HTV to the mat. So if you're new to cutting HTV, you want to make sure that the shiny side is down. And that's because this is the carrier sheet, and we actually want to cut the vinyl, which is on the other side. So we're going to place this down here, and I like to line it up just like this and roll it out. And then you can use your hands or a brayer to smooth it out. You can use a pair of scissors or a rotary tool to cut off this extra vinyl if you'd like, and then you can insert it into your machine and your Cricut will cut your project. I'm going to do it for all 3 layers, and then we'll come back and weed it. Once your project is cut out, the easiest way to remove something from a Cricut mat is to actually flip it over and remove the mat from the project. So you're kind of peeling the mat away from the project. This works really well on HTV, adhesive vinyl, cardstock, a whole bunch of materials, and it will keep your project from curling or tearing. Now grab your weeding hook and we can weed our project. You can also weed it on the mat. That's easier for some people. That's actually the way I usually do it, but it's a little harder in videos because I need to do everything at the same time. So we will go ahead and just peel off the excess HTV that is not part of our project. This design does have a lot of excess, so if you want, you can like trim out and save scraps, but I'm not gonna do that this time. So you basically just peel all of this back. right, I have all 3 of my pieces weeded. Now we can prepare our canvas. So the cool thing about a reverse canvas is that you're basically taking a stretched canvas like this and turning it into a framed piece of artwork by using the frame that's already inside the canvas. And to do that, we're going to need to remove all of these staples, and that is where those other tools I talked about in the beginning of this video come in. Depending on the brand of frame you are using, this process can be really easy or it can be a little difficult. I've made several reverse canvases in the past and I've never really had an issue with the staples, but for some reason the brand that I picked up this time, these were a pain in the rear to remove. So you can use your little staple remover, you can try and lodge a flathead screwdriver under there, and then once you get them out, once you get part of the staple out, the pliers work really well for removing it. I actually already did this process because I knew it was probably going to be a little bit difficult for me. If you've watched my channel before, you know I have some issues with pain in my hands, and it took me a long time to remove this. So through the magic of video, we're turning this basically into this. So we have our frame from the inside of the canvas, and then we have the actual canvas piece that we've removed with the staples. Now again, you can totally paint this piece. You could use a little bit of wood filler on the corners here if you would like, because you can see the staples in this particular brand. I'm just gonna leave it unfinished, make it a little rustic. And then with the canvas, you also probably have 2 options depending on the canvas type you have. You have the bright white side of the canvas, but then you also have the back of the canvas, which has a little bit more of a rustic feel. It just has that kind of soft canvas color versus the bright white. I'm going with the bright white just because that is my style, but if you're looking for something a little bit more rustic, you can use the back side of the canvas as well. All right, I'm going to spread my canvas out here flat. Again, I'm using the white side up, and then I'm just going to place my frame on top of it with the beveled side facing up. So this side is flat and it has all my staple marks. This side looks much nicer, so I'm gonna place that side facing up. It doesn't have to be perfectly centered. You just wanna make sure none of like the staple marks are like inside the frame, because this is what you're actually going to see. Then I'm gonna place my first layer here inside the frame. I just wanna get an idea of where things need to go. So place this here. I'm actually gonna trim off some of the excess HTV over here on the side, just like that. I'm gonna layer all of these in here just so I get an idea of where this first piece needs to go. So I've got feelin on top of it. Again, I'm gonna trim off some of the excess over here. We'll put this right here or so. So you can see I'm already like way at the top, so I need to move this down. Come here. There we go. I'm going to trim a little bit off the bottom now. There we go. Maybe something like that will be right. And then we have our last piece here. So again, I'm going to trim the excess off this one side here. Oops, how did I do that? I don't even know. There we go. And we can place this one right where it goes. Okay, so it looks like I've got things a little tight here. The carrier sheet on these are very sticky, so let's make sure we're doing this right. Got feeling. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm actually gonna grab some parchment paper because I think that might be easier. Give me just a second. All right, I've got 2 pieces of parchment paper here, and just because the backing on this HTV is so sticky, and I want to be able to keep this piece where I need it, I'm going to place one piece of parchment here, and I can still see through it to know where to place my other 2 layers. So we're going to place this one, I think about here. Again, we need to move the whole thing down, so come here, feelin. Let's move you down a bit. Probably about there. Put Jolly on top of it. Oh, now my parchment paper is not going to fit. It probably goes there. But see, now I can move it around, figure out where it needs to go. I can place another piece of parchment and I can still see that bottom layer. More layers than this, it might not work, but this is going to work just fine, I think. Let's see, I need to trim just a bit off the bottom here. There we go. All right, so now I have the whole thing here, and I can see if I have it about right. So it's looking to me like I have about the same amount of space over here as I do over here, and I have about the same amount of space here as I do down here. So I'm pretty happy with that. So we'll take off these first 2 layers. This one is where it needs to be. We can remove our frame for a minute, and then I will add my mat underneath. Do not lose where that's supposed to go. Okay, just like this. The other nice thing here is if I don't have it perfectly centered, I haven't put the frame on yet. So if I need to adjust the frame slightly, I can. So we just want to make sure that everything is looking pretty straight and pretty even when we iron it on. For this particular HTV, I have my heat press set to 315 for 15 seconds. I like a little bit of a longer time when I'm pressing onto canvas versus when I'm pressing onto a t-shirt. You might be able to get away with 10 seconds on a garment, but for canvas, I'm gonna do 15 seconds. Then we're gonna peel the carrier sheet back. If it's not sticking, you can press it for a little bit longer, but don't over press it because you can actually deactivate the adhesive, basically burn the adhesive, and you don't wanna do that. So I'm gonna try 15 seconds and we'll see how it goes. When I peeled it back, it just automatically peeled my carrier sheet for me. I've never had it do that before. Clearly it adhered just fine. There's nothing stuck to my adhesive carrier sheet here. And this looks actually really great on here so far. All right, we can place our next layer. And I know that I need to have enough space to fit that L. These L's need to be pretty close together. So just make sure we have enough space. Make sure everything is lined up nicely. All right, that looks about right, yeah. And then for this one, because I do have some of that HTV showing right here, I am going to grab a pressing cloth. If it wasn't showing here, I would just use this carrier sheet and it wouldn't matter, but I don't want the hot plate of my heat press to touch the edge here. So I'm just gonna grab a little pressing cloth and we can use that. All right, so I'll press this on here. We'll do another 15 seconds. All right. And we can carefully peel this back, just like this. All right, we've got 2 layers done. We can add our final layer here. Perfect. Just make sure everything is lined up. Make sure my letters down here are lined up. Again, I have a little bit of the teal poking out up here, so I'm gonna use that pressing cloth again. And this one I think I might actually press for 20 seconds. So let's see, we'll give it a little extra time here at the end. And then we can peel back that final layer, just like that. Now I'm gonna flip it over and I'm gonna press for 10 seconds from the back just to really seal in that adhesive. All right, now we can actually frame our project. So if you didn't get this perfectly centered, I mean, you can look on here, it's not perfectly centered in my canvas. That's okay because there is a lot of leeway and you'll have the ability to kind of move this around a little bit. So, you know, if it was centered, it might be more up here. Obviously my artwork is off, so I can move it down here, make sure it looks pretty centered. Now that my glue gun is heated up, I'm actually going to just lift this corner and add just a dot of glue under one corner, just like that. Again, make sure that it's centered and press down really good. That will dry, and then I'm going to flip everything around and I'm gonna do the same on the opposite corner. Just add a dot of glue under there. Again, make sure it's all centered. Once you do that, you can then flip this over without losing your, like where everything should go. And now you'll have some options for how you want to cut off the excess vinyl. You can run a craft knife down it, you can use scissors, you can actually glue the whole thing and then sort of trim it. I don't love that idea. I think I'm actually gonna grab my craft knife and my ruler for this. All right, so now I can use my ruler here and my craft knife to basically cut off this excess canvas here. Just be very careful. This is not the most stable surface, but you should be able to cut right through that canvas. Just like that. And I can use my scissors to cut off the excess here and here. Cut off the excess here. I do have a little bit where my glue is, so I'll just kind of cut around there. That's fine. We'll do the same here. Again, I've got that glue in this corner. I don't have glue in this corner, so we'll add that here in a minute. That worked pretty well. A lot easier than scissors, I think. And now we can glue the rest of our canvas to the back. So you'll notice that I have basically 2 flaps. That makes it fairly easy to glue. I'm just gonna run a, let's see, glue gun cord here is not very long. I'm just gonna run a bead of glue down the side here, down the side here. Woo, it's moving. Then I'm gonna pull it from the corner to stretch it and press. And press down all along here, press down all along here. And we can do the same on the other side. We can run our line of glue just down here, just down here. I'm a little shaky today. I think I ate enough breakfast. And stretch it so that our canvas is flat and press. Just like that. You flip it over, press from the back, and there you have it. So, are you feeling jolly after making this project? I am, because I love that I can make framed artwork with just a stretched canvas. It really is a great way to add framed art to your home for the holidays or other times of the year without breaking the bank. Thank you so much again for joining me for National HTV Day. A big thank you to Caesar and to Heat Transfer Warehouse. I have all of these products linked down in the description below, so you can get them from Heat Transfer Warehouse if you want to make a project like this. If you have any questions about making a reverse canvas, please leave those down in the comments. If you found this video inspiring, I would love for you to give it a like. Follow my channel for more HTV content. I'll see you next time.